Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're finally posting or filming my May and June wrap up. I feel like it's been a long time. It's August 14th when I'm filming this. I got back not too long ago from Houston. Great time. Went to see an hyphen. Yeah, so good. Anyway, that's besides the point. We're here to talk about the books I read in May and June. As we know, the first 2 months of the year, January, February, was on a roll. I was reading so much. And then March and April, I was in a bit of a life slump for sure. And then June and like May and June. But May and June, I definitely got over that a little bit. So I was reading a lot more. You'll see July has been a different story, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the books that I did indeed read, and I read a good amount. Let me count how many I read. I read 12 books between those 2 months, which was kind of crazy considering I read like maybe 4 books together in March and April. So it was definitely like a big jump. I was feeling a lot better. But a lot of these books you've seen in reading vlogs, I think, and then some of them you probably are like, you read that? Yes, I did read that. But let's talk about them. So the first book that I read was in a video. It was in my Madeline Miller's like taste test vlog, and that was Circe by Madeline Miller. I originally said 2.5, but I think I'm gonna lower it to a 2. I just really didn't like this book. I just thought it was so boring, and there was like one part in this book where I was like genuinely interested, and it really didn't really have much to do with her in general. So I just found this really boring, really repetitive. Yeah, but I think because here's the thing, I think this came out after The Song of Achilles. So I read The Song of Achilles, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then I was like, this is her second book, this is gonna be so good because like she's grown and improved. And it's not that I don't think she's grown and improved, I just think maybe the character, maybe Circe is just a little bit boring. But I thought that I really thought there was no way she could be boring. Like, she's a witch. Like, I feel like that's fun. But whatever. I didn't enjoy this that much. I really liked seeing Odysseus. I think that's how you say his name. I say it wrong every time. I liked seeing other characters pop up, but her as a character did not really enjoy that, to say the least. Okay, next book. Oh, by the way, we're in May right now, if you guys didn't catch that. The next book was The Fury by Alex McLadies. I have had this book for so long. I think I've had it since it came out, so like maybe 2024, like beginning of 2024, maybe it was even 2023, but I'm thinking it's 2024 because this came out on my brother's birthday. So like we've had this for a very long time. My thing is, I have a little section, oh, he's up here, with Riley Sager. He only has 3 books, so I feel like I need to like pace myself and kind of like read them when I really need something that I know I'm gonna like, because I really love his writing. I loved The Silent Patient, and I loved this. His books are very much psychological thrillers, which are my personal favorite type of thrillers because I am a psych major. So like anything with a brain, if it has to do with animal science or psychology, I'm there. And usually books don't really have anything to do with animal science, so psychology is where I get all of that. And like his books are such psychological thrillers. Like they really mess with your brain, kind of like make you think, and I don't know, they get me every time. I really love them. And the fact that all of his books have an unreliable narrator, all of them. And I usually hate an unreliable narrator. It's why I did not like Rock, Paper, Scissors, because the narrator was unreliable. So when I read The Silent Patient, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like this. And then I loved that. And I read this actually has, there's a dog barking outside, excuse them. This book actually had so many like not great ratings. which was why I was on my TBR in the first place, because I needed a book that got a lot of mixed reviews, and this was the book that ended up, oh no, I had to read the book that was the lowest rated on my Goodreads, and this happened to be that. And I don't understand, because this was a 5 stars to me. I love and adore this book, and I honestly wish I could read it again for the first time, because it was just that good. Like, I read this so quickly, so I would definitely recommend this. I don't think I can really say much about it, because I feel like with Alex McLady's books in particular, you should go through blind. So 5 stars, such a good psych thriller. If you like psych thrillers, read it. If you like thrillers in general, I would definitely recommend his books. We then had Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This book I gave a, what did I give this book? I gave Tress a 4.5 stars originally. I think I'm gonna give it out a 4.5. I think that's fair. If anything, I would lower it to a 4.25, but I feel like 4 and higher is pretty good for this book. This book was really cute. I thought the romance in this book was cute, and I was surprised because Brandon doesn't do romance. Like, he's not a romance guy. He's a high fantasy, and that's it. So when I knew that this was gonna be like kind of a cute romance fantasy, not a romantasy. It was a fantasy with some romance in it, not a romantasy. I wanna say that before his fans come at me. It is a fantasy with some romance, but I was not expecting, I really wasn't expecting much from the romance, but I thought that the romance was really cute and our characters were really cute. This book is definitely like a cozier fantasy, but for who our character is and for where like they are, I think this was still pretty like high fantasy. I don't think this was like a cute little soft, no high stakes fantasy at all. Like, there was points in this book where she could have lost her life. Like, it was pretty high stakes. But I just think like it was like a feel-good fantasy. It was really, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. And then the rat, oh, that entire thing, the ending, guys, it was just so cute. And the fact that he made this for his wife, Brandon has done it again. He's done it again, guys. I would definitely recommend this, especially if you want to get into Brandon Sanderson. I would recommend Mistborn, which, can y'all see that? Mistborn right here. I would recommend Mistborn, but if you don't want something that's like that super like boom, Tress. I think Tress is good, but this is one of his secret projects, and I definitely can't wait to read his other secret projects. I'm just so excited. Next, I read The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. This book I didn't rate. I don't rate nonfiction books. I don't rate other people's like real life stories. I feel like that is insensitive, and I will keep saying that every time I talk about a nonfiction book. But this book I do recommend for people, especially if you are someone that has watched and consumed content from family channels. I would definitely read this to kind of like know kind of like what you are supporting, because I mean, like, while you may not mean to be supporting like these like harmful practices, in a way you are, because you're giving them those views and giving them those like the money that they're getting from this, and then in turn it is hurting like the children in that family, which we see here. Sherry talks about everything essentially when she was little, and kind of didn't really realize what was going on until like the moment everything kind of like hit the fan. She talks about it all, and she talks about how there was points in time where she was like kind of questioning how she felt, and how what she thought she was feeling like wasn't valid. So I definitely think that this is a good read. It talks a lot about like abuse, like, but not just like, not physical abuse, but like mental abuse, and then verbal abuse, and just like all of that manipulation, everything, and then just how it plays into like family dynamics, but then also relationships with everyone else in your life. Definitely a good read. Definitely a very, what's the word? What word am I looking for? A very I don't want to say strong because that's not the word I'm looking for. It is a strong story, but that's it. I don't know. I'm thinking of a certain word, but I can't like, it won't come out. But I would definitely recommend this. I thought it was super good, and I really feel bad for everything that like kind of happened. If you guys know anything about like 8 passengers and that entire thing, I think now everyone kind of knows everything about that, but it was definitely something. It was definitely something. Then I read one of my most anticipated reads of the entire year. Like, I was waiting for this book to come out, and I read it, and it literally gave me everything that I needed, and that was The Survivor Wants to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I'm literally tearing up right now because this book means a lot to me personally, for personal reasons. In this book, I needed to make sure that I was like okay to read this book, because this book does deal with a character who is very much not okay mentally. He has a lot of mental struggles personally, and then also he doesn't want to live anymore, and he tries to take care of that issue on his own, to say the least. And I don't know, it just speaks to me in many different ways, because I, for one, have dealt with issues of that nature. So just kind of seeing that in our characters, and not just one of them but both of them, was very comforting. And I think because Adam Silvera, if you read his author's notes, you know that he kind of relates to his characters in a lot of ways. And I think that the way he spoke about like the issue and the like what was happening, I think it was done in a very careful but correct way. Like, I felt like it was relatable, and I felt like it was sensitive, and yeah, I loved our characters. I feel like in this book, I don't know if it's a spoiler. I'm not gonna say it. Well, no, I'm gonna say it. No one dies at the end of this book, and I'm pretty sure Adam Silvera has said that himself, so I don't think it's a spoiler, but no one dies at the end of this book, though both of our characters are not very happy with that outcome. One in particular is not very happy with that outcome. But I don't know. This book is very emotional. I am a crier. I'm a crier through and through. But I didn't cry at the book until like the very end, where they were really getting deep into like how they were feeling with what was happening and their lives in general. And whoa. It was a lot. I feel like these characters, they're literally only 19. They're only 19. They're a year younger than me. And they go through so much. So much. Because both of them, we have seen them in previous books. And both of them kind of like have like kind of this thing looming over them. One is something that happened in The First to Die at the End with Paz. And then with Alano, he is the son of Joaquin Rosa, who is like the creator of Death Cast. So they kind of are like struggling with a lot of things, and like Paz is seen as this villain. I'm not gonna tell you why because it is a spoiler for the second book, but like he's seen as this villain. And like, guys, let me read you the ending. Not the ending, I'm not gonna do that, the author's note, because y'all, that got me. Let me read it for you. It says, this is literally the very last paragraph of his acknowledgement, and says, and lastly, for all my readers, but especially the ones who have struggled with life, you know who you are. I know who you are. There are so many more pages in our stories, so please don't close the book. Keep turning and turning and turning. Guys, I don't know. That got me. Yeah, it did. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. This book is, all of his books are so emotional, but I think I just had a very deep, I had a deeper connection to the characters in this book. So yeah. Adam, that was a 5-star though, if anyone was wondering. And then I read 2 other books that were, one was not super happy, but it wasn't like sad, and then the other one was like wasn't sad. And so the first one was Hopeless by Elsie Silver. I don't own the book. I read them on Kindle, well, on my phone, on the Kindle app. But I gave that a 5 stars, and I don't know why we're not talking about Hopeless more, because personally, Hopeless and Reckless are my favorite books of that series. And I really thought, I swore up and down that Heartless was going to be my favorite, because it was like a single dad, and I was like, that's gonna be it for me, and it wasn't. And I was just like, how does that work? How did that happen? It wasn't my favorite. Hopeless and Reckless is it for me. And Hopeless in general, I feel like I just loved the relationship between Bailey and Beau. I loved their relationship. I loved how he didn't treat her like she was like this little girl, this little kid, and that he treated her like a human being, because a lot of people didn't, because of like her family, or they like kind of just treated her as if she was like not gonna amount to anything. And I just loved the way that he like kind of showed her that she did have things going for her, and that she could get things despite her name and despite who she was. I just loved that. And then Beau had his own issues going on, because as we know from like the other books, Beau worked in, was it the special forces, was it the army, it was something like that, and he had some type of accident, and that accident definitely affected him, and so he had to do a lot of digging inside of himself to try to kind of find out who he was aside from that. But I really loved that book. I gave that book 5 stars. Those were the only 2 books in that series that I gave 5 stars, and I think that they are the only ones that deserve it. I think so. But there's that. And then I read Nick and Charlie. I read that in a video, and I gave this book a 3-star because it was literally like, I don't even think it was 100 pages. I don't have it anymore because my sister and my aunt, they came and they took some books, and that was the one. They're 12 and 13, so it's definitely like up their alley. So they took those books, and Nick and Charlie was one of them. I liked Nick and Charlie for what it was. I feel like I would have been fine not reading it, but like I read it, and I was happy that I read it because it gave me a smidge more than I would have gotten if I hadn't have read it. Basically, how do I talk about a novella without like spoiling the entire thing? They were having some relationship problems basically, and that was the entire thing, which is why I gave it 3 stars, because not much really happened. But it's Nick and Charlie, and I loved seeing them, and the fact that I saw them was enough for me. That was enough for me. The next book I read was also in that video. What was that video? I don't even remember what that video was. But it was a video where I read 3 books. But reading books recommended by K-pop idols. The next book that I read in that video was The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. If you guys know anything about The Fault in Our Stars, it's freaking devastating. It's a devastating book. It's a devastating movie. It's just sad. You're literally following 2 sick kids, 2 kids with cancer. It's sad. And the book was no different. I read the book like so long ago. Like when I kid you not, I was probably like 8. No, I don't think I was 8. I was probably like 10. Like I was young when I first read the book, and I've watched the movie so many times since then. So I already knew the entire story. And The Fault in Our Stars, I think they did so well with the movie because there was really like no changes from the book. and I loved that. But this was a book that talked about like grief and loss and all of that. And as we know, because it's not like I don't say it in every video. I don't think I say it in every video, but I think I've talked about it quite a lot, because I feel like my dog made appearances quite a bit. So reading a book that dealt with loss and grief, I feel like it's always going to be difficult. But since like I read this in May, right? No, I read this in June. So at that point it had only been like 3 months. It was still like kind of new. It's still very fresh. But I think this was the first book that, besides Notes on Our Execution, but I think Notes on Our Execution, because the premise was different, it was like, I don't know, it was different. This one, like, you kind of like, it's someone that they're like super connected to and love that they're losing, and that's kind of like what happened. And I think it's a good book for, because it's a young adult book, it's a good book for kids to read if, one, they've never experienced it, or two, they are experiencing it, because it kind of shows you that like this is something that happens in daily life, and it is something that is real, and that you're not going through alone. But yeah, it was a beautiful book. It was a very sad book. But yeah, I do love The Fault in Our Stars though. I think this is always going to be like a top tier book for me. This was a 5-star, by the way. I think it's always going to be a top tier book for me, a top tier movie. It's just definitely one of those books that you got to go into with like a good a good headspace, for sure. I definitely want to read more John Green books, because one, I feel like all of his books are a little bit what's the word, emotional, but I think his writing is so good. I think it's so good, so I would definitely love to read more of his books. And then the last book in that video was 1984 by George Orwell. I gave this book a 3-star. I did, and I just, like, I don't even remember what I said about the book. I think I had higher hopes for this book, and I didn't like it. I thought it was boring. I thought that they were like way too heavy-handed on the plot of this book and what they were trying to like get people to understand in this book. I feel like it was way too heavy-handed. Like, I was like, okay, I get it, calm down, like, I get it, we all get it, we got it the first time you slammed it in our face. Like, I just needed it to be toned down a little bit and maybe focus on other things. Like, there were so many things oh my gosh, there were so many things in this book that I feel like we could have went more in depth into, and he didn't. So I don't know. I know this is a loved book. This is like a super loved classic, but it's just like not one of my favorites. So 3-star. It gets that for me. It was okay. It was okay. Then, guys, we get into the last 3 books that I read in June, which were all in a video because it was Pride Month, and we know I've only been doing this for a year, but last year I did a Pride Month video and I read like LGBTQ plus books, and I did that again this year, and I think that's going to be a thing every year. I'm going to do that every year because I just really love LGBTQ books. I'm definitely an ally, and I love to like read books about them, you know, I really do, and also to like show it on my channel because they deserve to be shown too. Just like books about Black people and books about Asian people and books about Hispanic people deserve to be shown on YouTube videos, so do books about queer people. They also deserve to be shown on people's channels, and I want to be someone who shows books about anyone and everyone, you know? So this is a video that I do, and oh, let me not show you all 3 at the same time. The first book I read in that video was Forging Silver into Stars by Bridget Kemmerer. Bridget Kemmerer. I still have not learned how to pronounce this lady's name. I am so sorry. This book, however, so glad I read it. I'm so glad I read it. You guys can't see because it's all up there, but I did indeed buy the second book. Absolutely, I sure did. And because this one was just so good. It was so messy. First of all, I think this is a young adult book, and for a young adult book, so much drama, so much mess. And guys, I always sat in here for it. Okay, I ate every spoonful of it because it was just, I don't know, I think the way that she wrote it and the way that she like introduced us and like let us get to know these characters just made the drama just so much better. You know, like it just made it so much better. I loved, there's so many different relationships within this book, and there's so many different dynamics within those relationships and within like the entire book. Like there's a lot going on. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot going on. We get 3 point of views. We have the point of view of Jax, Tycho, and Callan, and let me tell you, there's just so much going on because everyone like crosses paths with everyone at some point in the story, plus others. So there's just so much going on, and I just loved it. And then there's a lot of romance. The romance is what made it messy, guys. The romance is what made it messy. When is it ever any different? Like the romance is always the problem. That's always the problem. But I feel like I really like the romance on both sides, and I really want to know what the heck is gonna happen between Callan and her love interest, because that's a whole issue. But then Jax and Tycho, they're just so cute. And then my favorite character of the entire story was Tycho's horse, Mercy. The love I have for her. Mercy needs to have her own point of view. She does. But this was a 4.75. It was so good. I've never seen, first of all, I don't think I've ever read, besides Infinity Sun, I don't think I've ever read an LGBTQ, like a queer fantasy. So that was very different for me. But then also, like, this kind of had, like, it was like a royal type of fantasy. So, like, Tycho, like, works for, like, the royal family, essentially. That's not what they're called, but that's essentially what they are. And he works for them. And I just thought, like, the whole like premise and synopsis of the book was very different from anything that I've ever read, and these characters were very different from anything I've ever read. I feel like Tycho was like our like basic male main character, but then we have Jax, who is very different from any other male main characters I've ever read, and Kel, who is very different from any other female main characters that I've ever read about. So we're getting a lot of diversity and a lot of difference within other like fantasies that you may see. So good. Please read it. Please read it. I don't care if you don't like YA. I don't care if you don't like fantasy. Read the book, okay? Then I read And They Lived by Stephen Salvatore. This book just needed to get off my TBR. I'm not even gonna lie. I wanted to read the book, but it would also just so happen that this was a book that I've had for entirely too long. I got this book when I was in high school. I've been graduated for 2 years. So it needed to be read, and I read it and I gave it a 3.5. Yes, I gave it a 3.5. Like I said in the video, I just felt like things just moved way too quickly. But as I also said, I'm a 20-year-old, and when you're at this age, you kind of tend to like, things tend to move quickly because you want to be grown. That's just how it is. And things were moving so quickly in this book. Like I felt like they got together and then like immediately like things just like whoa, and I'm like, guys, calm down. You don't even know yourselves yet. Like they literally don't even know themselves yet, and they were trying to get into a relationship with each other and trying to like have feelings for each other and like convey what they wanted with each other when they didn't even know what they wanted themselves. There was just a lot going on, and I was like, guys, take a break, take a breath, just stop, just stop. Just give it a second. I promise that if you guys figure out who you are, everything will fall into place. And the ending, I really enjoyed. I really liked the ending, and I really liked the aspects of them trying to like find themselves. I really liked that, but the romance was just moving quite quickly. But yes, there was that book. And then the very last book that I read in June, and then also the very last book that I read in that video, was The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. This was a book that I was super excited about, and I had such high expectations, which is why, here's the thing, here is the thing that people don't tell you. I have my favorite authors, and I have favorite books from favorite authors, and my thing is once I find an author that I like love, I tend to just put like super high expectations on all of their books, because I'm just like, well, you made 3 of my favorite books, so like you should make all your books should be like my favorite. And that is a problem that I have, because I put such high expectations on these books, and then they're too high. They're too high. I put these people and their writing on a pedestal, and that is something that I need to stop doing, because 1, it's not fair to the authors, and then 2, it just like makes me disappointed, you know. And for this book, I had such high expectations, despite like not really even knowing what the book was about. I just saw Casey's name and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a 5 stars. It's gonna be amazing. Like, it's gonna be like the best thing in the world. And unfortunately, that wasn't what it was for me. I just felt like the book in general was good. I just feel like with the premise of the book, with the type of book that this was, it being like a type of like competition book, and them like trying to get more of something, it gets repetitive. But with like a plot like that, it's going to get repetitive, because they're doing the same thing to get more of what it is that they want. So the same thing is going to keep happening in order for them to get more of what it is that they're like fighting for, right? So that was my fault. Obviously that's going to be repetitive if it's like, oh, if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this. And that's what it was. They did this, they got that. It was a competition. When it's something like that, it's like a football game. It's the same thing over and over. You get a play, the play ends. You do another play, the play ends. Like, it's repetitive. It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. That's what this book is, because it's competition. It's the same thing over and over and over again, and it just got boring. Like, if it's a movie, I feel like if it's a movie, it can be different. But when it's a book and you're reading it and you have to sit and read it, it just gets really boring, because you're reading the same thing over and over again. I really liked when the point of views switched and we got Kit's point of view, because I feel like it just told us so much more, and we kind of got to know like Theo's self-discovery. We got to know their self-discovery kind of all throughout theirs, but we didn't really realize what was happening until we got to Kit's point of the story. And then we're kind of like, oh, things are clicking. And with me personally, I don't want to have to wait until an entire half of the book goes by to kind of like have things click, unless it's a thriller book. If it's a thriller book, then it's fine. But this is a romance book. I don't want to be left in the dark the entire time, and I felt like that's how it was. I felt like I was left in the dark a lot, but because Theo's point of view wasn't really telling us much, we got everything in Kit's point of view, which, like, once again, which is fine. I just feel like maybe it's like kind of my fault, because I just had unrealistic expectations and ideas going into the story. Completely on me. But I did really like the exploration, them trying to find themselves, and them also like finding themselves and coming back together afterwards. I really did enjoy that. But yeah, I give this a 3.5. I'm still gonna read everything that Casey writes, because I really like their writing. Like, I really like Casey's writing. It was just, I think it was like what happened with A Love Talk for Ricky Wilde. I think I went into this with like something completely different, and then I got something completely different. I was like, what? Huh? And then, but yeah, I liked it. It's just not my favorite. But yes, those are the, how many did I say? 12? 12 plus maybe books that I read in May and June. So as you can see, it was honestly a pretty good reading month for me, which was surprising because the 2 previous months just weren't like that. But for the most part, I enjoyed every single book that I read this month. I got a lot of 5 stars those 2 months. So I am very happy about that. If you guys have read any of these books or plan to read any of these books or have differing opinions about any of these books, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.